Hi, it's that fantasy chick again. It's another week. Sorry for the tardiness. Had some Instacart hiccups. Had to deal with an Instacart shopper who, A, not only did she not get the stuff that was necessary for the recipe that I needed to make, got didn't ask me for my replacements, got replacements that made no sense to what I asked for. Then she came and she dropped it off without telling me that she was there. So I had to run downstairs and pick it up. She just dropped it at the front. So that's what I've been just dealing with. Uh, Instacart shoppers. I've had a string of problems with Instacart shoppers, and that's just, ugh, yeah. But um, so got a lot to talk about today. Of course, as usual, the Flash, the Mandalorian, um, Victoria Alonso. If you recognize that name, you've seen her name in the credits of your favorite Marvel movies and TV shows. But also, this past weekend, I in Chicago, we had the C2E2, which is the Chicago Comic and Entertainment and Exposition, which is basically like a Comic Con. But for whatever reason, the Chicago Comic Con is in Rosemont. So the Chicago Comic Con ain't even held in Comic Con, but the Chicago Comic Con is called C2E2. It's confusing, but whatever. The live one is C2E2. I've never been to one in Rosemont, but whatever. The one in Chicago is going to be better. I'm just going to say that. I got lost going to Rosemont once, so I'm just going to say nothing in Rosemont is good. So C2E2, I went to C2E2 this weekend, had a lot of fun. Going to make a video about that, so going to talk about that in my video. But I ended the weekend going to see Dungeons and Dragons. Now, I had knew that the movie was going to be good because it had a high Rotten Tomato score, had a high audience score. The audience score was even higher, and that's what I usually go by, is the audience score. But when I went there, because I don't watch trailers, so I went there, blank slate, knew nothing, knew that it was just based off of Dungeons and Dragons. And it was a lot deeper than I expected to be. It was really, really good. I liked it. I liked it as a story. I liked it. It was good comedy. It was good story. It was heartwarming. Uh, um, had great action. Um, great characters. And from what little I know about Dungeons and Dragons, it was a great representation of the game. Because I have watched little videos here and there with people telling their own Dungeons and Dragons stories, and I was able to recognize certain elements of the game in the movie, and it's just really good. So you could just tell that the people who wrote this movie plays this game. Like, they played the game, they understood the game, and they really put a lot of thought behind this movie, and it's really great. So, highly recommended. Highly recommended. I was trying to think about all the movies that I've seen so far this year, and I am drawing a blank. But I truly believe this was the best movie that I've seen so far this year. I think so. I believe Dungeons and Dragons is the best movie that I've seen so far this year. John Wick is great. John Wick is on a whole nother level. It's a whole nother level. It's great. I love it. I recommend that too. But I believe Dungeons and Dragons is the best movie that I've seen this year. So highly, highly recommend that. Um, yes. I was in the theater kind of sitting there like, wow. I was sitting there within myself, just really, I knew it was going to be good, but I was surprised at how well it was put together. I knew it was going to be good. I knew I was going to enjoy myself, but I was really surprised at how well this was put together. And so it's really well put together. Yes, I have been on a movie spree. This month has been very, very busy, and yeah, closing out March with what I feel was I didn't realize was going to be the best, saving the best for last, but the best was for last. So so now what do we have? We have the Flash and the Blue Beetle. See if they can touch. They have to top Dungeons and Dragons now. That's the bar. The bar has been set with Dungeons and Dragons. So um now now I mentioned I want to talk about Victoria Alonso. She was an executive for Marvel Studios. Marvel Studios fired her. So I have an article, of course, about that. I love drama, and entertainment drama is the best. Where is that? So I didn't realize there was this movie that was nominated for an Oscar, Argentina 1985. I didn't realize that she was a producer on that movie. So, inside the firing of Victoria Alonso, her Oscar nominated movie Argentina 1985 at the center of exit. The longtime Marvel executive's attorney said in a statement of the firing, Victoria, a gay Latina who had the courage to criticize Disney, was silenced. The Oscar nominated film Argentina 1985 was at the center of last week's sudden firing of longtime Marvel Studios executive Victoria Alonso, The Hollywood Reporter has learned. Alonso was one of 8 producers on the Argentine historical drama, which was distributed by Amazon and competed for the Best International Feature Oscar. However, by assuming that role, she breached her contract several times, according to sources. After repeated warnings, the situation came to a head the week after the Academy Awards and ultimately led to her termination. It was a seismic shakeup at Marvel, where for years Alonso was a part of the Holy Trinity, along with Marvel Studios boss Kevin Feige and co-president Louis Desposito, who led the Marvel Cinematic Universe to ever greater heights. According to insiders, Alonso breached a 2018 agreement that included the company's standards of business conduct, which states that employees cannot work for competing studios. Sources say that Alonso did not ask permission to work on Argentina 1985, nor did she give notice. However, an IndieWire piece published last month on the film stated that she did have permission. When Disney found out about the project and the violation, her longtime service and veteran status led the company to give her a dispensation on the condition that she not work on the movie further. She was also not to promote it or publicize it in any way. The situation of a top executive working on a movie outside company confines was deemed serious enough to involve the management audit team, and a new memo was signed, according to an insider. A rep for Disney declined to comment. Alonso's attorney, Patty Glazier, released a statement after the initial publication of this story. Said the attorney, the idea that Victoria was fired over a handful of press interviews relating to a personal passion project about human rights and democracy that was nominated for an Oscar and which she got Disney's blessing to work on is absolutely ridiculous. Victoria, a gay Latina who had the courage to criticize Disney, was silenced. Then she was terminated when she refused to do something she believed was reprehensible. Disney and Marvel made a really poor decision that will have serious consequences. There is a lot more to this story, and Victoria will be telling it shortly in one form or another. Ooh, more drama. Okay. According to sources, she was reminded of her agreement and her breach several times, but the campaigning continued. She even appeared on the Oscars arrivals carpet, but not as Marvel executive associated with the studio's multi-nominated Black Panther Wakanda Forever, but rather as Argentina 1985's producer, walking with the film's director, Santiago Miter, which also rankled Disney executives. What also rankled Disney executives was that while she was busy promoting Argentina in 1985, her purview over Marvel's visual effects as president of physical and post-production, visual effects and animation production was busier than ever. Throughout the last year or so, as Marvel pumped out an unprecedented number of series and movies, a general impression emerged that VFX artists were not being well treated by Marvel, attributed to factors including long hours, drum-tight deadlines, and a lack of a singular vision. Releases included the February film Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, were catching flack for subpar visual effects work, while Alonso herself became more and more polarizing. You can only ask a person to stay until 1 a.m. working on VFX shots for so long before things start to break, says one post-production source. Another post-production talent says they have avoided working with Marvel because of Alonso's reputation for being challenging. Still, she had her supporters, including Eternal star Salma Hayek, who called her the best Heifa ever. See, I would say Heifa, but Heifa ever in a December 2021 post. In any case, things came to a head post Oscars, and Alonso was terminated for cause. Alonso's firing shocked the town because of its sudden nature and because the reasons for it were unknown. Some speculated that Alonso was being silenced because she was outspoken about Florida's so-called Don't Say Gay bill, which Governor Ron DeSantis signed in March 2022. I am at Marvel Studios. I will fight for representation. Alonso, who is gay, said at the time, recounting at the 2022 GLAAD Media Awards of how she spoke with then CEO Bob Chapek for 45 minutes on the topic, added the exec to the crowd. So I ask you again, Mr. Chapek, please respect. If we're selling family, take a stand against all of these crazy, outdated laws. Disney took a stand against the bill, resulting in a clash with the state government and ultimately the loss of a special tax status It is a move that will likely cost the company millions. Okay. Let's see. Is there anything else about her so-called firing? But other sources say that being vocal had only increased Alonso's profile within the company. She was asked to represent the company on the board of GLAD, joined the company's Pride 365 leadership team, and made a deal with the company's publishing division to write a memoir. In any case, the VFX industry will be closely watching what follows. Marvel is one of the most lucrative clients for VFX houses because of the scope of its work. Its tent poles regularly have in excess of 2,000 VFX shots, sometimes more than a whopping 3,000 per movie. It is unclear who will take over for Alonso in the interim. At least some vendors are working with VFX producer Jen Underhall for now, but insiders acknowledge whoever assumes her duties officially will face similar challenges as Alonso. The unprecedented 18 films, 22 shows, 18 films, TV shows, and specials that Marvel released in 2021 to 22. Okay, so basically they told her she was doing great, but secretly wanted her out. That's what I'm wondering because this is speculation. The Hollywood Reporter is speculating that her breach of contract with Argentina 1985 is what got her fired. Her lawyer is saying that's not what got her fired. Her lawyer is saying it was something completely different and she is going to speak out against it. Of course, when someone like a Victoria Alonso is fired, they normally don't just fire somebody like her without non-disclosure clauses. They usually fire them by paying out a lot of money, and that money comes connected to non-disclosure agreements. So they don't get to talk about what really happened because also because the Hollywood Reporter actually put out two different articles. This article says she was fired. The article before this said she left. So they put out two conflicting articles about her exit from Marvel Studios. So did she leave or was she fired? So I truly believe that yes, she most likely was told to leave. So it probably the truth is somewhere in the middle. She was told to leave. But whatever the truth is, if they don't pay her money and get a non-disclosure agreement attached to that money, we're going to hear all the juicy details. She's going to go to somebody's platform and yap, 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 yap. And I'm going to be there listening. Yeah, not just future projects, but just somebody like her. She's been with them since Iron Man, so she knows where bodies are buried. So they don't want her talking about. They don't want her talking about not just future projects. They don't want her talking about the past. Period. Period. So they want her to keep her mouth shut. So they're going to do what they can to get her to not talk. I think the lawyer coming out and saying she's going to talk was a way to get them to pay up and get that non-disclosure agreement going. because sometimes representation play little games to move things along. And I think that might have been that might be her little game saying, pay us, or she's talking. That might have been because she said it in the Hollywood Reporter, and everybody in the industry reads the Hollywood Reporter. So that was definitely a uh, definitely a message to the Disney executives that if you do not pay her, she will talk. So pay me what you owe me. Yes, she's been there since the beginning. Since the beginning. I recognize her name because like you've seen her name on every movie, on every TV show. Her name has been there. Victoria Alonso. Like I this is my first time actually seeing her face, but I am very familiar with her name. So when I found out that she was no longer with Marvel Studios, this was kind of a big thing for me because I'm like, okay, her name's on everything. Why is all of a sudden is she gone? So it's a big thing for somebody that attached to studio to be leaving. So there is big drama attached to that. There is big drama attached to that. Um okay. So the with the Flash. um yes. So apparently the Flash is just going to do a bunch of filler episodes because last week's episode was just another filler episode. I I underestimated what they were going to do with their last season. And maybe they just feel like they're just going to fill up the rest of their time with a bunch of filler episodes. Maybe they don't feel like they're filler episodes, but they're filler episodes to me. there is no there is no main storyline going on. It's just each episode is a standalone episode. They brought in Dreamer from Supergirl. So I guess they're gonna try to bring in, probably starting now. They're gonna start bringing in people from the other. They've already had in Batwoman, so now they have Dreamer from Supergirl, and yeah. So the whole episode took place in a dream. Well, half of the episode, because one storyline was Iris and Dreamer were stuck inside Iris's dream. Yes, because it started off. Dreamer was having a dream. She woke up, went to see Iris. Then they ended up in Iris's dream, and and so everybody was trying to wake them up, but they had to figure out what was going on within them, what was mentally going on with what was mentally wrong with them, so they can wake up. Like their inner conflict, they had to solve their inner conflict in order to wake up from the dream. And I don't think it has anything. I don't think one has anything to do with the other. Um, because the movie was done eons ago. So, and the movie really has nothing to do with, this being the last season. This is the ninth season. the CW decided this is it for the Arrowverse. Like they just have been slowly, you know, shutting down those shows. And and it really doesn't have anything to do with the movie. Because you know, you would like to believe it was a plan that they had all along to do something like what James Gunn had planned all along, but they had no plan. They was just they do they don't have grand plans. They do things as they go. So they were just canceling this show as they went. It had nothing to do with the movie. The episode, half of the episode was in the dream. The other half was this side story of this guy trying to turn. It's hard to explain. It's hard to explain. Try to turn this character into his dead girlfriend. It's kind of like My Name Is Not Susan. If you knew Whitney Houston, once had a song called My Name Is Not Susan. It's very much like that. He was trying to turn this girl into his dead girlfriend. And she very much was like, my name is not Frost. I have my own, likes and wants. And I wish you would just try to get to know me instead of trying to turn me into her. And she blew up at him and they went their separate ways. And then he had to come back and apologize to her. And he decided that, he still hasn't quite healed from Frost's death, Killer Frost's death. So he's going to go his own way. So this is him leaving. I don't know if he's going to leave the show for good, but he's leaving to go so he can heal and stop trying to make turn this girl into his girlfriend. And the dream inside of Iris's dream, it was just her going from, she started off, it was her going from like different careers, because like Iris is a news reporter, and because Barry time traveled and did so much time traveling, he knew bits and pieces of their future, and he had pieced it all together and put it in this book. And she had figured out that this next article that she was going to write was going to win her a Pulitzer Prize. Pulitzer Prize. I can't believe I said that. Pulitzer Prize. And she got, gun shy and didn't want to turn in the article. I mean, it's her paper, She didn't want to publish the article. And because she felt like, because she knew ahead of time what was going to happen with it, like she didn't earn it for some silly reason. So she had to find out, she had to go through this whole dream world to realize, no, I earned it all along. So she had to go through that. And then Dreamer had to go on her own little journey and come to her own little, solve her own little inner conflict so they can wake up. And but yeah, that was the episode. Basically, them dealing with their own little, Iris's insecurities about her career. No real villain. They thought there was a villain, but the person who they thought was a villain wasn't actually a villain. It was actually somebody who was they thought that it was why can't I say the word? Wasn't a villain, it was benevolent. So the person was, was actually on their side. So there was no villain in this. There was no bad guy in this episode whatsoever. So I don't know if we're just not going to have another villain this season. There's not going to be another big bad, or we're just going to have episode after episode of filler episodes. Just keep rounding them out. Legends of Tomorrow, the Green Arrow. What other shows? Are they going to bring back Black Lightning? Is he going to come back and be a filler episode? What other shows are there? I think that's all of them. Because you have there's 5 of them. Batwoman, Green Arrow, The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow. It was something else other than Black Lightning. I can't think of what the other show is because I'm out of my a lot was going on. A lot was going on. A lot really happened, but in the end, there was, it was one of those, the power was within you all along type episodes. uh so Supergirl didn't come back. But Dreamer, the guest star on last week's episode, was from the show Supergirl. So she was basically, she represents the show Supergirl. So I was hoping that Supergirl would come back, but Dreamer represents Supergirl, the show Supergirl. So that was our touchstone with Supergirl. So we have Batwoman, we have Dreamer from Supergirl. I guess that was the best we can get. Melissa probably was like, I ain't coming back. Because if they got Batwoman, they got Green Arrow himself coming back. They most definitely asked Melissa to come back, and she probably said nope. Okay, then that is all of them then. Arrow, The Flash, Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow, Black Lightning, Batwoman. And that's all of them. That is all of them. But two, three, oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. I was the Arrowverse shows. Yeah, I was not counting them right because I was like there should have been 6, but for some reason I was just counting 5. But yeah, so those are all the shows. So I wasn't missing any. But so we'll see. I'm still, you know, I'm still sad that this is the last season of The Flash. I'm kind of sad that they're not taking full advantage of these last few episodes to, do something really big with it. I feel like they're going out with a whimper instead of a bang. And that's what it feels like for me. Freedom Fighters. Now I remember Vixen, but I do not remember Freedom Fighters. That doesn't. That's wow. Okay. Um, I don't remember hearing about Freedom Fighters. I thought I knew all the little web shows. Okay. Me too. Me too. I am, but I'm still gonna continue watching every Wednesday. I'm still gonna continue watching. I'm there to the end. It's the final season. I'm hoping they bring back Cisco because it's the final season. You know they could at least bring him back on the final episode. That would be nice. Although I just saw him on this commercial for a show on Hulu, I think it is. And I think the show is like a musical show because he was singing and he cut all his hair off. I was like, oh my goodness, Cisco cut his hair off. I never thought I'd see the day. Okay, so next, Grogu show. So we had very little Grogu this time. So not much, not much cuteness, not much, not much of the Grogu. I mean, he was there hanging out in the ship, hanging around, but not much Grogu antics. So it was more of the Mandalorian than the Grogu show this week. And and I think I finally see how they're going to connect the Mandalorian back to Coruscant. Moff Gideon. Moff Gideon is missing, and Coruscant think that the Mandalorians have taken him hostage, which I don't think anybody's taking him hostage. I think that his people came and got him, and they're, of course, what do you call it? They're framing the Mandalorians. So, but the Republic, the new Republic, is so lax. I'm like, isn't this how the Empire rose in the first place? That you guys were so lax, you didn't realize a clone army was being built underneath, or was it the yeah, you didn't realize a clone army was being built underneath your nose, and now Moff Gideon, this big evil dude, didn't make it to his trial, and nobody looked for him. Nobody looked for him. Like, I can just not show up to trial, and they'll be like, "Oh, oops, oh well." Nobody looked for him. I'm like, you know what? When the Empire comes back, I'm not gonna feel sorry for the new. Oh, but they do come back. They become the New World Order or whatever they call themselves. It makes me not feel sorry for them because you kind of deserved it. You kind of deserve it the way you're acting right now. The way you're acting right now, you are leaving the door open for them to come back by being so lax. But anyway, so yeah, Best episode yet? Okay. Was a movie from start to finish. This episode, yeah, this episode, it had action, it had not just action, but it had actual plot movement because it had that chick from the Empire and it had that dude saying, it had you finding out about Moff Gideon and like it just it had its elements. It had a lot of elements. And with this dude him saying, I don't think these pirates, all this stuff happening over this one planet, Navarro is an accident. I think it's the Empire. All this stuff happening, Moff Gideon, and then this, and now these pirates, all this stuff happening over this one planet is not an accident. This is the Empire. But do anybody listening? Oh, we got papers to shuffle. We can't worry about a planet that's not a part of the New Republic. New Republic act like they haven't been, like the Empire hasn't rose up and taken them out before. Like, you were the Republic. This is why you're the New Republic, because you were the Republic before, and then the Empire rose up and took you out because you were lax and allowed an emperor to rise to power. The emperor may be dead, but his followers are not. Yep. The best episode yet had the least amount of Grogu scenes. Oh, they can find a way to balance that. They can find a way to balance plot and Grogu. Because I like Grogu, he's cute. But it is funny. But I think they haven't learned how to balance Grogu and actual plot moving forward. It's like they just don't know how to. They don't know how to pack a plot moving forward. Everything about this episode was the plot fine. They're like, oh, we running out of time. We actually gotta get this going somewhere. So let's have like about 3 or 4 things happen in one episode. Let's get these Mandalorians off this planet where they keep where they're in danger of being eaten from things from the sky or from the sea. They are constantly in danger of being eaten. And I'm like, of all the planets they could have landed on, that was the best one. But now they're on Navarro, so they're no longer in danger of being eaten. It is the Grogu show. He's what makes the show, gives the show heart. Well, I know she had a greater purpose. I knew she was being set up for something. Um, I had I had no idea her seeing the mythosaur was just going to be, I didn't realize they were going to use that as a sign that she needed to go off and be the leader of both worlds, bringing both worlds together. But they are outnumbered. There are very few of them in the world. It makes sense for them to come together and bring themselves together, come together and to unite. It doesn't make sense for them to continue to fight like that within each other. Maybe not solely focused on Bo-Katan, but heavily focused on Bo-Katan. Um, this is true. This is true. And as much as I call it the Grogu Show, it is not titled the Grogu Show. Um, but the only reason why I say no, you know, it would be interesting for them to focus on Bo-Katan next season. It'll be interesting for them to take that route. But I wonder if they will have the courage to turn their focus off of something that has worked for them for the past, few seasons, which is Pedro Pascal and his father-son dynamic, and focus on, like, Katie Sackhoff she is a popular character, but is she popular enough to carry the show? So it's still a bit of a risk. And I wonder if they'll have the courage to take that tag. Seems like they don't have a choice because these broken men do storylines running dry. Well, it's yeah. There's only so much they can do with Grogu while he's still a toddler, and they're not going to rush to grow him up because he's so cute as a toddler. Like, they can have they have Jin Djarin teach him all that he knows, but there's only so much that he can learn at this stage, at this age. Although technically he's 50. Well, by this time he must be 53. 50, or has a year gone by? I don't think 3 years has gone by. He's technically 50 in that timeline, but he's still a toddler. But it will be interesting. I liked the story. I liked the fight with all the Mandalorians and the pirates. And I just know that one pirate who got away, he's gonna come back around. He's gonna come back around, and he's gonna come back around before the season ends at some crucial point. when Mandalorian probably went with the Moff Gideon storyline, you know, when they're in the midst of that, he's gonna come back around. So maybe two what at most. It's been real, cat, but I'm out. Left him to die. But that's what happens when you're, when you're a criminal. You can't trust a criminal. Like, you put your trust in criminals, and that's what they do. They leave you high and dry. But maybe 2 years has passed. Okay, so he could be 51 or 52. Okay, so he could be 51 or 52. Because it just don't, even though it's been 3 seasons, it doesn't feel like 3 years has passed. It feels like, because these seasons have been so short, it still feels like one whole year. It still feels like they've happened back to back to back, and it's just been 1 year. That's why I'm like, he could still be 50. But yeah, so things are finally starting to pick up. The plot has finally kicked in after this is episode 5. So it took 5 episodes for the plot to kick in. So we finally see where it's going. That chick is definitely working for Moff Gideon. And she had something to do with him not making it to his trial. It was her. It was her. It was nobody but her. So you think the pirate is going to help out Mando at some point? I feel like, no, that pirate is bitter. That pirate is bitter. I feel like the pirate is going to be a thorn in Mando's side. He's going to be an extra he's going to be an extra antagonist. When Mando's fighting someone else, someone either Moff Gideon himself or somebody in Moff Gideon's camp, he is going to come in and mess that. He's going to mess it up. He's going to come in and mess that up. I don't see him helping him. I see him being a thorn in Mando's side. I see him being a thorn in his side. So now that the plot is finally kicking up, now that we finally see what they're up to, um, now the what do you call it? The search for Moff Gideon finally begins, and they finally start to bring those two storylines together, and it will come back to the Mandalorians, especially once they get all the Mandalorians together. And now they have to defend themselves against the New Republic, who will fry your brains without letting you defend yourself. I have problems with the New Republic. I have problems with the New Republic. But I have major problems with the New Republic. So we'll see. Okay, so I'll be back Wednesday, and we'll be talking again about Superman and Lois and Gotham Knights. Again, blood pressure will be up. And Friday, my video is going to be about, you know, everything I got into at C2E2. So, all the fun or trouble I got into. So, so check that one out. And okay, but in the meantime, thanks for watching.